Hello everybody and welcome to my top 10 strongest characters in Jujutsu Kaisen list. Not wasting any time, so I'm going to list out the stipulations right away. Characters who have time-based restrictions will be realistically judged by that and compared to those both below and above them in terms of combat potential. Character restrictions will also be considered for this list, as someone's combat potential relies on their versatility as a fighter. Regeneration and matchups will also be heavily considered here, as just because someone fares better against a certain opponent does not mean they're stronger than another sorcerer who would also have trouble with that opponent. Tools are considered as well.
There are also characters I just won't go in depth with, like, let's be real guys.
There are just some choices in this list that don't need explaining, only going into details with abilities that may have been forgotten and or certain picks or matchup explanations. Let's be honest now, do we really need an explanation on both Gojo and Sukuna? We know where they're at. Kicking off the list, one of, if not the most powerful cursed spirit in the series, Mahito. Mahito wields the overwhelming, versatile, and broken curse technique, Idol Transfiguration. As Mahito's curse technique grants him the ability to reshape souls, doing so allows him to disfigure the body of his victims, heal his own wounds, transform his appendages into weapons, and a limitless variety of other possible transformations. Mahito can even go as far as creating clones that can use Idol Transfiguration on themselves, but not on others. He is only limited by his imagination. This ability of Idol Transfiguration is practically a one-shot technique. As in the universe of Jujutsu Kaisen, the shape of the body is dependent on the shape of the soul. So if Mahito lands his ability on anybody, he can change the shape of their body into anything he sees fit. For example, Junpei. Mahito has also used the Black Flash twice in the span of one fight, showing his phenomenal control of cursed energy, and giving him access to understanding the true properties of cursed energy. According to Toto, the difference of the ability to understand cursed energy among those who have used and those who have never used the Black Flash is the difference between heaven and earth, as landing a Black Flash generates a feeling of omnipotence, as if everything revolves around you. This leads to a greatly increased performance in combat, allowing the user to operate at 120% of their maximum potential. When pushed to his limits by Yuji Itadori, his worst matchup, Mahito finally unlocks the instant spirit body of Distorted Killing. This ability greatly enhances Mahito's stats, as he was able to ragdoll Yuji, the same Yuji who was previously ragdolling him. Yuji even goes as far to state that Mahito is a completely different being from his base state. Last but not least, Mahito's domain expansion, the self-embodiment of perfection. To make this quick, this is a domain expansion where Mahito is automatically connected with the souls of anyone inside and is capable of transfiguring them at will. Mahito's control over the technique is so refined that much like Gojo, he's capable of activating it for 0.2 second intervals. The reason why Mahito lands at 10 is because of his general unkillability, one-shot technique, and the ability to negate reverse curse technique, being a huge issue for sorcerers such as Kenji Hakari, Ryu Ishiguro, Kashimo, and many more. The only way to kill Mahito is to have some way of directly attacking the soul, which is an insanely rare trait throughout the series. Be able to emit positive curse energy as an offensive ability, or repeatedly kill him until he expends all of his curse energy and can no longer transfigure himself to regenerate. Mahito likely would have become the next Sukuna had it not taken the efforts of Yuji, his worst matchup, and the betrayal of Kenjaku to eliminate him from the series. Next up we have Maki Zenin. After single-handedly decimating the entire Zenin clan and receiving training from the peerless swordsman Daido and the sumo master Mio, Maki has become a true monster, being stated by the narrator to be the god of war reborn. Now honestly, you can put Toji here as well, but I do think Maki is the better of them two despite Toji having more tools. But when it comes down to it, they're similar enough, you know, so it doesn't really matter which one you want to place here, both work. So after Mai's sacrifice, Maki was granted a body of steel, granting her the ability to be as strong as Toji is. The same Toji was able to destroy the special grade cursed Dagon and defeat a pre-awakened Satoru Gojo. And even after receiving more training with Mio and Daido, she was able to easily defeat the cursed spirit Naoya. This Naoya being able to move and strike at speeds of Mach 3 and above, decimate multiple buildings with ease, and cast one of the strongest domains in the series. Maki was even able to go blow for blow with Sukuna, despite him being weakened due to Megami's interference. Maki also has access to one of the most powerful cursed tools in the series bestowed to her by her sister, the Split Soul Katana. This tool allows Maki to negate both durability and regeneration. Maki is also a master of hand-to-hand combat, being able to go blow for blow with the likes of Naoya Zenin and 15-Finger Sakura. She's also able to wield all kinds of weapons and just overall a beast. One of the most overwhelming characters when it comes to anything physical, and as previously stated, a true god of war. Next up, Hakari Kenji, a sorcerer who lives his entire life high on the fever. Or in other words, he's a fighter who enjoys himself most when his life is on the line. Hakari is widely recognized as one of, if not the most powerful student at Tokyo Jujutsu High. As Gojo himself has stated that Hakari will be one of the few students to surpass him in power someday. And Yuta Okotsu even stating that when Hakari is on a roll, he's even stronger than I am. To start off, Hakari is an insane hand-to-hand combatant, being unscathed from Yuji's headbutt and sending him flying with a single punch. Although Yuji had no intention of fighting back, he also had no intention of just faltering either. Yuji had every intention in the world to take that punch and remain standing. Hakari's combat ability is so refined that he was able to overwhelm a sorcerer with the ability to see in the future with pure stats. Hakari was also able to keep up with Kashimo in an extended back and forth, an insanely formidable foe. It'd be an understatement to call Hakari a monster in terms of hand-to-hand combat. In terms of battle intelligence, Hakari is not one to rush in with a plan, but can think on the fly instead. And he certainly succeeds at doing so. Upon learning about Charles' ability to see into the future, Hakari immediately attacks to confirm how it works and quickly came up with a countermeasure right after. And when it comes to Kashimo, Hakari changing his barrier's location to the ocean and punching Kashimo into it, thus exploiting the fact that Kashimo's curse energy trait will react unfavorably towards him into the water, thus using up all of his curse energy. It says a lot about his ability to just think on the fly and come up with these genius level JoJo plans in the middle of a fight, and to me that's an invaluable asset. Hakari's battle intelligence is just on another level and some of the best we've seen in the entire series, bar none. When it comes to Hakari's abilities, he has a unique property to his curse energy, making it feel more rough than usual, thus dealing more damage to people when attacking. He also has the ability to summon objects from his domain expansion, such as the train doors or the pachinko balls to use against people as tools or as weapons in combat. Now on to Hakari's primary selling point, his domain expansion. Hakari's domain expansion is the Idle Death Gamble, a pachinko-themed domain expansion that creates an environment resembling a train station and basically plays slots until Hakari hits a jackpot. When he hits that jackpot, Idle Death Gamble grants Kenji a bonus of unlimited curse energy for 4 minutes and 11 seconds. Not only does this grant a boost to his stats, but it also gives Hakari the ability to have unlimited curse energy. So what this means is Hakari's body has so much curse energy that it will reflectively use reverse curse technique to heal any injury he may sustain. And Hakari's domain can't really be stopped, as it has a faster casting time of both Gojo and Mahito's 0.2 second domain expansions. And Hakari's luck from his previous domains carry on to the next domain, which basically puts him in an endless loop of domain expansions unless you can cut his arm off while his domain expansion isn't active, like the boost, or if you manage to land a decisive blow in between his activations as well. I personally don't believe that Hakari would beat Maki or Mahito due to them hard countering him, but against other very powerful characters such as Ryu, Kashimo, Yuki, Kenjaku, etc., I believe that Hakari would consistently perform better than those two in terms of battle. His abilities are just way more versatile. He has the stats to keep up with these guys. And again, most battles in Jujutsu Kaisen are a war of attrition, and Hakari seems to be the king of it. So he rightfully deserves his place as number 8. Now at number 7, we have Suguru Geto. Geto was one of the 4 sorcerers that have been given the title of special grade. Despite him holding nothing but L's on his screen time and having a very early exit from the series, he still belongs in this spot. Wielding one of the best abilities in the series, that being cursed spirit manipulation, Suguru is able to collect cursed spirits and use them to assist him in battle. And it's not like the 10 shadows where he can only use one at once. He can use all of these cursed spirits at once if he really wanted to. And his collection of cursed spirits was as wide as possible with a different variety of uses in battle. He can use these spirits to fight alongside him, amp up his stats, take attacks for him, and again, all of these at once. And it's not like Geto overly relied on these cursed spirits because he was phenomenal at hand-to-hand combat, as he was easily able to overwhelm Panda and match and enrage Yuta and Rika at the same time when using the special grade curse tool, the Playful Cloud. And although Geto lost to an inexperienced Yuta, it's been stated that Geto would have won if he had been at his full power and didn't expend all of his curses to fight the rest of Tokyo Jujutsu High. I mean, when it comes down to it, the fact that Geto was able to fight Yuta, Akotsu, and combat all of Jujutsu with just his curses alone says a lot about his potential and power as a sorcerer. He belongs in this spot. Number 6, Yorozu. Yorozu was one of the most powerful sorcerers in the Heian era, the golden age of Jujutsu. After incarnating into the modern era, Yorozu was able to give Sukuna a very competitive fight, where she was able to land several direct blows and stand against the 10 Shadows technique. She ultimately resorted to using her own domain, but she failed to force Sukuna into using his own. She also failed in making Sukuna use Cleave and Dismantle, but she was able to force him into using Maharaga. This alone is more impressive than Ryu's performance against him. The same Ryu who performed very well in the Sendai Colony Battle Royale and forced Yuta into manifesting Rika. With Yorozu's only opponent being Sukuna, I'm sure this was for good narrative reason, as not many would be able to stand against her. With Yorozu's construction ability, she was able to create something from nothing, primarily using it to create liquid metal as her weapon of choice, as it has changeable value, easily manipulated, and stable physical properties when being manipulated by cursed energy, giving Yorozu immense versatility and power. And when she needs to go all out, she creates her insect armor, which greatly enhances her strength, speed, and durability. And last but not least, something akin to a maximum technique is Yorozu's perfect spear. To keep things brief and not confusing about this, a true spear has no contact area and generates infinite pressure, so this makes it untouchable. In the end, it's just another one-shot ability. She has access to a domain expansion, but it's truly nothing special. It just allows her to make her true spear and everything else a sure hit. Yorozu's spot is well deserved, and most would place her at 4. Number 5 is the cursed child Yuta Akotsu. In terms of special grade sorcerers, Yuta's the new kid on the block, but this certainly does not make him the weakest. As in Yuta's very first fight, he was able to defeat a weakened Suguru Geto, another special grade sorcerer. In my opinion, I give the special grade sorcerer title a lot of weight because it's narratively distributed very rarely for a reason. What puts Yuta at number 5 is his massive amounts of power, with it being stated that it feels as if his cursed energy is bottomless, being able to physically overwhelm even Yuji Itadori in his base. When Yuta needs to go all out, he can fully manifest Rika, which would be different against someone like Yorozu because in the Sendai Colony he had multiple opponents, but a current Yuta and Rika working together to jump somebody, I feel as if it would be much more impressive than what we've seen before. And you gotta remember, Yuta would also have tons of curse abilities he can use while working together with Rika, different curse tools. He just has so many answers and options available for use. He also has access to a domain expansion and reverse curse technique. My primary reason for placing Yuta at 5 instead of 4 is because of his 5-minute time limit. It's too unreliable for battles against other top tiers, as I even think that Hakari would genuinely beat Yuta when he's on a roll, because Hakari can instantly replenish his curse energy and his jackpot, whereas that's not the same for Yuta. However, Yuta deserves his place above Hakari because he can decimate all cursed spirits with ease, can answer almost everybody in the series, and can win against them without too many conditions except for the 5 minutes. But again, I just don't think it's practical against top tiers like Sukuna, Kenjaku, Yuki, Yorozu, etc. Now, on to number 4, that being Yuki Tsukumo. These last 4 spots will be fairly easy to explain. Yuki is a special grade sorcerer with tons of experience in the extremely overpowered ability of virtual mass manipulation called Bambaye. This ability has displayed the strength to easily decimate cursed spirits and go straight through Kenjaku's defense. When it comes to both power and skill combined, Yuki is simply unparalleled in hand-to-hand combat. And if Kenjaku couldn't handle her in this area, nobody can. Yuki also has access to mid and long range attacks to reduce her Shikigami Garuda, since she can also use her ability through Garuda and impart the virtual mass onto it, using Garuda as a projectile, a weapon, and without the ability, Garuda can even assist her by restraining her opponents. Her durability is nothing to scoff at either, as she was able to tank a direct mini Uzumaki to the face from Kenjaku and also able to tank a direct blow from Kenjaku's barrierless domain, the Wound Perfusion. Yuki also has a domain expansion, anti-domain, and reverse curse technique to heal herself. And finally, if on the brink of death, she can self-destruct by imparting so much mass onto herself, it will create a black hole with an insane area of effect, guaranteed to hit the opponent unless countered. The reason why Yuki lands so high is because she does not have any conditions in battle. being able to stomp most below her and give a very difficult battle to Kenjaku due to matching up with him very well. And in a hypothetical matchup against Yuta, the 5 minutes is not practical against Yuki because, let's be real, Yuta and Rika aren't putting down Yuki and Garuda in 5 minutes. Kenjaku has written off Yuta Kotsu before, whereas with Yuki Tsukumo, he questioned himself, asking that it feels possible to hunt this wild beast. The same Kenjaku has practiced Jujutsu for over 1,000 years. Yuki also can reject concept manipulation due to her ability, which is a factor that allows her to match up much better against more powerful opponents such as Kenjaku, reducing most of his moveset. What needs to be established with this fight is that, although Yuki lost on her first appearance, her opponent was Kenjaku, and nobody below her on this list would perform better than her against him. That is certain. Number 3 is Kenjaku, and this is where the list starts to wrap up very quickly. Kenjaku does not need much explaining, as Kenjaku was able to overcome the combined efforts of Yuki, Choso, and Tengen, and this is while they had prep time and knowledge of his abilities, whereas Kenjaku was unaware of Yuki's abilities until she landed an attack on him. Kenjaku was also nerfed in this battle, because he couldn't use his special grade cursed spirits against Yuki, who has concept negation. The honest truth is, Kenjaku compared to every other character below him, it's 2 different levels, especially when Kenjaku is at full power. To briefly go into his abilities, he holds Tsurugado's body, has his cursed spirit manipulation, and immense physical prowess. But Kenjaku has more than Geto's technique, as he also holds the technique of Yuji's mother, Kaori Itadori, the anti-gravity system. This is a cursed technique that negates gravity when used, but Kenjaku primarily uses a cursed technique reversal of this ability, allowing him to intensify the gravitational pull around him. Kenjaku was stated to be the best hand-to-hand combatant in the series, also the second best barrier user, being refined enough to access a barrierless domain expansion. Kenjaku's only weakness would be his arrogance, going into very long monologues when in battle due to usually overwhelming his opponents with almost no difficulty. But when you're as powerful as he is, can you really blame him? With Giga using Ryu, one of the most powerful characters in the series, even strong enough to give Yuta a high difficulty fight, to get perception blitzed and one-shotted by Sukuna, there was a very clear message that he was attempting to communicate to the audience. Sukuna is a true monster. Sukuna being a master of Jujutsu wielding cleave, dismantle, and mastering the 10 shadows technique, even being able to summon Maharaga at will. He simply cannot be defeated by anybody but Gojo. Sukuna was even able to clash with Gojo, albeit brief. And Gojo once even stating that a full power Sukuna would be difficult for him to defeat, although he'd still win. After crushing everything in the Heian era to a point where he was revered as a god, and decimating high tiers such as Jogo, Maharaga, Ryu, and Yorozu, Sukuna now believes that Gojo's the only man who can possibly make him feel anything besides the will to destroy everything in his path. Sukuna's spot as Gojo's rival and number 2 on this list is rightfully deserved. And last but not least, coming at number 1 is Satoru Gojo, Master of the Limitless. Being virtually untouchable by the rest of the cast, being able to easily overwhelm Mahito, Jogo, Choso, and Hanami all at once, one-shotting Uraume without any difficulty. Kenjaku stating that defeating Gojo is impossible after having 1,000 years of Jujutsu experience. And Sukuna's respect for Gojo as a rival, we all know what Gojo can do. To this day, Gojo lives up to his name as the strongest.
Alright guys, that's it. If you enjoy content such as this, make sure to let me know by leaving a like and subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, and have an amazing day. Thank you.